Hello students of my Speech 100 class. Today I will be presenting my informative speech. In school, we were taught about great thinkers, people who revolutionized what we now know as mathematics and physics, people such as Aristotle, Newton, and Einstein. But there were many others that we don't really speak of. One of them, who is very well known in mathematics and is very interesting to me, and I decided to bring him today. His name is Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz. Leibniz was born in 1646. He was born into a pretty wealthy family. He was able to travel, to study among many people. He worked as a librarian and actually a diplomat. He was a very well-versed man. He was able to learn. He was a scholar. And because of this, he was able to contribute to mathematics today. Leibniz is credited with being the co-creator of calculus. He actually, at the same time as Newton, was working on calculus, both of them having very similar ideas and actually publishing very similar works very close to one another, kind of really just got the same understanding of what calculus was, what differentials were, and what integration meant. We actually now use what Leibniz used as notation, as maybe some of you know, dy or dx, or also the integral. It's kind of an elongated S looking symbol that people always look at. If you look at those crazy math problems that people always show on boards, it's always there. It's really big. Yeah, that's considered Leibniz notation. Newton's notation actually being very different. We don't really use it because it doesn't look as good. Leibniz also worked on what he didn't know then would actually end up becoming linear algebra. He brought back this idea of arrays, which were not used for 2 millenniums. They were originally used by the Chinese, and they were used to describe like little multiplication kind of problems, but he started using them to describe linear equations, which about 100 years after his, about 100 years after he was born, another guy known as Carl Gauss would revolutionize his work into actual, what we now call matrices. He basically started that movement. Other than that, the man was actually very religious, very much of God, and to describe his ideas and his basically understanding of his relationship towards God and people's relationships towards one another, he used what logicians, or another form of mathematicians, what we call contingencies. Basically, this idea of truth statements, things that can be or can be true or are not true. And he also started this kind of movement towards the idea that for something to be true, both the preposition and both statements where both the premise and the proposition have to both be true. These statements in the future, logicians would actually end up calling them truth statements, and they actually evolved, and he very much kind of almost pioneered these ideas of unions of these statements and ors of these statements. Just basically just kind of evolved logical mathematics. So yeah, Leibniz had a lot of great contributions to mathematics. He was a very good mathematician, and sadly, actually, towards the end half of his life, he was kind of discredited for most of his work by Newton, saying that he actually stole most of his work from him. Historians have actually found out that that is not true, and that you can see how Leibniz was actually he very much knew what he was doing, and he very much did his own work. He didn't really copy off other people, but that's kind of just in the history now. But I just wanted everyone to learn a little bit something about someone they might not know about.